Okay, okay then. Um, Yesterday, I did a number of drawings of the construction, or in this case, the destruction cranes and whatever these things are, excavators, as they were working on removing a building that was being demolished. And the building is almost completely gone. And what there are piles of neatly stacked piles of conduit and aluminum and cement and iron girders, and they all have to be carted off to some landfill somewhere or to be recycled or remelted down to make battleships or Coca-Cola cans. And but it was the ballet that was going on between the two main things and this little tiny car that was, a little tiny thing zooming in and out between these monsters. Uh, that was kind of fun. Here the car is in the foreground. It's it's about the size of a riding lawnmower, and then they moved in this big truck to take it all away. Meanwhile, there was this man right here with his big hose spraying the um, ground to keep the dust from going everywhere. And they were all, it was like watching ants in an ant farm. They were all just zooming back and forth and crisscrossing. And I suppose if I was in a drone looking down, I would see that they were missing each other by miles. But because I was on the ground, it just looked like they were going to run into each other and flatten each other. So what I was doing with this thing is I thought I would go and see if I can make a little animation using these cards, these cells, we can call them that. I think that's the term that they use in the animation world. And I'm not patient enough or exact enough to do it in the Pixar way or the Walt Disney way or the way that people that do this for a living do it. I'm not that I'm not that good at what I'm trying to do. All photos. Why can't I get to what I want? So what I'm doing essentially is this. I'm taking movies, using an app called Snap, which I will show you in a second. Just press the go button again. And sometimes, as you see, I might move the camera a little bit to suggest movement or zooming in or zooming out. But it's just, I'm trying to convey the sort of chaos that I saw out there. And the app is called Snap, I think. Snap Pro, which meant I paid Butch Trucks. I called this was the movie Butch Trucks. So play. And on this app, I can change the frames per second to make it obviously go faster or slower. That's about all I can do with this app. I don't know if I can add and edit and splice and do all that other kind of stuff. Um, And of course, every app you have has a different way to do it. So I guess I'd go plus new project. So I'm going to call this Butch Trucks 2. TCH Trucks 2. The return of Butch Trucks. What would they do? Okay, so done. Front camera, back camera. I want to create it. Landscape, create. Start shooting. So I can set this so it takes a shot every so many seconds, or I can do it where I press the button. And because I don't have enough brain cells in my little, and I don't plan this out enough to, let's plan this out. Let's just plan this out. So I'm just going to use, I've used two different kinds of paper, so I don't want to do that. I'm going to use just these that I did, and I'm going to find the ones that have the two trucks. This has the one truck. This is the one truck that's turning. Here's another two trucker. Two trucks. This is sort of a different angle of two trucks. This is a one truck. I don't know if I'm going to have a plot to this movie. I normally don't. There's a way back in the early world of filmmaking. There was the Lumiere brothers in France, and their shtick. How do you say shtick in French? Le shtick. Their shtick was to leur bâton. Their deal was to show nature in the act. And back in the early days of movies, just think of the word moving picture. And so let's say you're in Paris walking down the street, and I said, "Pardonnez-moi, monsieur, qu'est-ce que c'est moving picture?" And that person might think of he just left the museum and he saw the Claude Monet's Poplars. And he would say, "Oh, vraiment." He'd say, well, a moving picture would be a painting that was moving, that would move magically. And so the Lumiere brothers, part of their thing at the beginning, I think, if I remember my factoids from college film class, catching nature in the act, a movie of wind blowing through trees was magical. It didn't involve a plot. It didn't involve a woman being tied to the metro tracks. It didn't involve a little chase between a Citroën and a Daimler. There wasn't a love story. There wasn't a love triangle. There wasn't a plot. It was just nature being caught in the act. So it was crowds milling around the little reflecting pool. It was wind blowing through trees. It was smoke coming out of the bateau on the Seine. And that was all it needed. So that's sort of where I'm coming from here. I'm making pictures that move. They're clearly a picture, a drawing. It's clearly an animation. I'm not trying to make it look real. This is not CGI. This is moving pictures or moving sketches. So do I want a plot? Do I want it to make it seem like these are, these, when they're out there doing their work, they often look like they're two dogs, growling and trying to eat the same bone. If I was looking down from above, they would be far away and they would be dealing with their own piles of stuff, moving them around and bringing them over to this truck. But when I see them from my point of view, they look like they're two dogs fighting over a toy, and I kind of like that. So I may, in my deciding how I'm going to arrange these, I may have them, battling and then going up away and then coming back and battling again over this little scrap, or not. I may get bored before I get that far. So let's start doing this. So these, let's start with, see, some of these also have ink wash that I was using, and I don't think I want to put those in. I want to, and this one also has that. I think I was using a little water brush that added a brownish tone, which I think I want to leave out. Good, I've got, here I'm going. So let's see what happens. So let me get my camera. I'll start with 1 first. Now this is sort of 1.5. So I'm framing it. Of course, you can't see what I'm doing because you're over here, but maybe you can. I'm trying to make sure that that I don't see any edge. So click, click, click. Do I want to see what this seems like, or will I be surprised? Do I even know how to do this? No, play. That's what it looks like. Okay, stop it. Go back to, how do I go back? Shoot. Okay, I hope. Total 3. Okay. Again, I'm trying to learn how this app works because everyone, if I was the president of the United States, I would say, can we get with a program here, you people? Can we just, this and this are almost the same. I don't know if they're the same truck, but so let me just go to here, get that one, and then go to here, get that one. If I were the president of the United States, I'd say, can we get with the program and just please make all of the trash on any app, on any computer, on any device, always be in the lower left-hand corner or upper right-hand corner. Can you just make them all be the same spot? What do you think about that? If I ran just on that alone, I would get a lot of votes. So now I've got 11 frames in my movie. Let's see what it looks like. Play. Okay, why is it rotating? It's not supposed to do that. God damn it. Okay, let's just cancel this. Start over. Cancel. Okay, how do I, oh, there we go, throw it away. Delete frame. I don't want to delete frame. I want to delete the whole goddamn thing. Okay, how do I do that? Home. Butch Trucks 2. See? Upper, where's the trash? God damn it. Is it the gear? No. Is it that? No. Okay, I'm just going to make a new project. See, this is why I have to be elected to the highest office in the land, so that I can get Butch Trucks 3. God bless. Landscape, done. Create. Start shooting. Okay. This is why I need to be elected to office. Just that one thing. Do you think it's doable? Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So these are all essentially the same kind of thing, except now you see this one, the girder is sort of in focus. They were using this girder as a giant broom or squeegee. The thing had it by its little middle and it was shoving debris to the side. Okay, so now we've got this one thing, and then we've got, so this is sort of the same pose. I don't know where I left off, I don't care. And then here you kind of see maybe this, two of them together. So that and this one are kind of the same. So I need to, okay, I did this one, that one. Okay, now we're here. No. Okay, where did we go? I forget where we went. Here they're working together. Here they're kind of maybe, these two look good together. I don't really have one that shows them working together, but maybe I'll have a sort of a transition here where we zoom into the two cabs and we sort of see the two cabs, then we zoom out and they'll be moved. So here they're both grabbing at the same thing, whatever that thing is, and then they're sort of battling, maybe. Of course, I didn't plan this, as you can probably tell. Here they're, I need to do more today where they are sort of right next to each other and look like they're fighting. I could go into these. Nah, save those for later. I think I just cut, I forget what paper, I just cut a bunch of squares. Maybe I'll go out and draw more, but let's just pretend we're still interested in this movie, in this project. Okay, my interest level is, if there was a thermometer that said Per Gustafsson interest level is, sometimes it goes up like this and then it starts going down and down and then it just falls off the map, and it's not doing that exactly. I guess what I'll do is I'll go back to, no, I'll just do this. I don't know where I last left off. This is where there's just one now, and the guy with the big hose. Yeah, you like his big hose, don't you? It's really a big, big hose. And here and he made its way over to the truck. Shit. I need to do this first. Then we zoom out to the truck. Now this truck is way bigger. And I don't like this one at all. Okay, so I'm done. Okay, so there's my 49, 49 things in the film. So let's see what it's like. Play. Okay, I think I need to go a little slower. Done. Okay, stop. This is a masterpiece. Create video, render video, share video, camera roll. Done. So it should be in my camera roll. I have to look at my camera roll first off screen so I don't offend you with any pictures that might be here. Okay, there. Ta-da. What do you think? One of the things I wanted to do with some of these pictures was to this paper, the same ink that was on this, I used on here on an ink brush, and it was just interesting that this paper was just sucked up the ink and turned it gray, a lot grayer than I was expecting. So right now I'm looking for a black magic marker to see if I can make any of this blacker. I hate when magic marker ends up looking like magic marker. Now I'm committed, you know. There's one thing I kind of like about magic markers. I like their little squeaks they make sometimes. There's something that's, I find, charming about that. Call me weird. You're saying, yeah, I bet you like fingernails on the blackboard too. And I said, no, I didn't like this one. I really liked because this one you could see all of the pistons and whatever they are is Well, you know, I brought out the I brought out yesterday I'll show you what I did. Um, we have a lot of construction going on, and I've been doing construction for a long, long time, drawing construction workers, and I had um, created a um, created a there. I had created a board that had a number of drawings that I did and other people had done of the construction. And I printed up, I used my original ones, but I printed up copies, digital copies of the other people's stuff. So I wouldn't be gluing their real work on the thing, but I brought them out to show the workers. So here was the display, and I sort of hung them out on this fence, and there were four of them. There's one that's facing in to them, and they appreciated them. I believe they um, when they left for the day, they left earlier than I thought they would, and they had closed the gate. I had it next to the opening, um, and I had closed the gate, and they had very carefully the panel that didn't have hooks. These had little bent wire hanger hooks to hook them onto the fence. There was one that I had forgotten to include the hooks, and they carefully broke part of the fence and hung it on a piece of wire coming out of the fence. So I think they liked it, and but it's interesting, the workers looking at anyone outside of their community, especially neighbors of where they're working. I'm sure that most of the time they just get complaints like, "Why do you have to work at 7 in the morning with that nasty machine?" And you know, we're out having our cappuccino and walking our dog, and uh, they're in their overalls and work boots and sweating away. And I imagine they think, "Who are these people?" And they're skeptical of artists who are out there drawing them because they don't see art normally, maybe. Um, but when I'm out there drawing, sometimes they ask to see what I'm doing and I show it to them. But oftentimes they look like this. You know, they're not beautifully rendered things. And I think, well, gee, they probably think I'm some hack. You know, these were other drawings I did of their thing, and these are much more delicate. And I have drawn drawings that are actually quite impressive to see stylistically. I mean, you wouldn't necessarily see that this person has talent by looking at this, but they might see it if you look at this. So there is, but once they see that and they say, "Oh my God, that's Joe's truck," and they get excited because it's Joe's truck. Joe would love that. Well, Joe isn't here, but you know, he'll be here tomorrow. So I bring out the thing tomorrow and they show up. So anyway, Bob Anderson, join us. Schiavello, you can, but you can't say anything. You can only type and put your thumbs up. Paste. Chat. I'm worried about you, Schiavello. I love you very much, as you know, but I just don't want you to hurt your nodules. I don't know. See, sometimes I do drawings on my iPad, and these are some I printed. These are of a sailboat I was on, so that doesn't. Hello, Rune Tune. This is the drawing I did of my father's last outfit. This is what we buried him in. And we were, the day after he died, my brothers and I immediately started, almost the minute after he died, my brothers and I started arguing, not about, who gets the car and things like that, but we were arguing about what he was. I have not forgotten your name. We argued about what he was going to wear. And I thought he'd look good as in his Man from Uncle outfit. My dad looked like Ilya Kuryakin from that series. And let me see if I can find a picture of him so you can see that, because he looked like him. My dad is essentially the same age as David McCollum, and he had long straight blonde hair, and would occasionally wear a black turtleneck, or something, and he looked just like David McCollum. So let me just find a picture of Dad from Uncle. How do I search my own fucking thing? I never know how to do this. Search profile. Okay, Dad from Uncle. Dad from Uncle. There we go. So here's Dad from Uncle. This is when I was in college. He looked like this, or maybe even graduate school. But he looks pretty Dad from Uncle-like, for those people that know that TV show. Anyway, I thought this would be a nice outfit for him. And Troy, my little brother, thought what he would wear when he was at the lake, he'd have a bandana around his head and a long sleeve shirt, usually shorts, and he would walk up and down the beach collecting shells and fish bones and stuff. And Todd thought something very stylish. My dad owned a clothing store and looked great all the time. But so we sort of compromised. We had this sort of nautical look, his double-breasted blue jacket, and the scarf was not tied around his neck or his head. It was in his pocket. Didn't have a tie on. And of course, the morticians did a number on him, so he didn't even look like my father, but he was wearing, who's that? I said to the guy that worked for my dad the most and sort of his best friend, I said, I don't know who the guy in that box is, but he's wearing my dad's clothes. So, well, that's very nice, Gunthy and Ruthie. Can Ruth come on here live and talk about herself? I know that you don't want to, but maybe she's not shy. So anyway, yes, I'm going to go out and try to find other. I'm just wondering why this thing doesn't show up. Why doesn't it go? Why do I have to look at it this way? I see. Well, it's probably a wise idea. I'll upload this to my YouTube. Of course, my YouTube will not my YouTube, my Facebook. How do I do this? Not my Facebook, my Instagram. Instagram. What profile am I in? Now see this one, see Instagram turns movies into squares. Like, okay, what's the point of that? It really drives me crazy. So this is what it looks like. On YouTube. So useless. This is what I did for our newlyweds, Evie and Tasha. Their letters coming together and the monogram giving them superpowers. But unfortunately, the YouTube did not show it in its complete form. So room tune, I can do one for you and Ruthie. G and an R coming together. But I need something from you first. I need you to email me a picture of you and Ruthie, so I can get your vibe. And that'll make you a little monogram. Okay, what do I have here? I wanted to use this pen, Friedrich, to draw with yesterday, and I was going to fill it, and look what happened. You know where that nib is? I'll give you one clue. It's in your house. Yes, it's in your pen. It was a really nice pen to draw with. Nib. The pen is nice to draw with too. Again, it's missing its clip, and I don't care when I'm drawing with it. It's one that if it fell out of my pocket and was run over by one of those steam shovels, I would be sad. Yes, I would be very sad, but I would not be devastated. So I'm going to see if I can find another nib to put in it. Seems like it still has its sack working. This is a really nice pen to draw with, but it's hard rubber, and when I draw outside and put this in my pocket, I tend to overheat, and when I overheat, then it gets even browner than it is. This pen never had a clip on it. Isn't that interesting? Waterman 55. Or is it a 56? It's a 15 PSF. You want to see what? It's in your wall. You can see it any day of the week. Oh, yes, I want to see it. Yes, I'm sorry. The screen that I'm looking at is like 1 centimeter away from my eyeball, and everything is out of focus. Yes, I would like to see your pen that it's in. So if you'd like to show it off, I would like to see it. I don't know if I ever showed you this. No, this is not the sail drawer. This is a Waterman that Otto Yang milled this down for me, the barrel, so the cap can slide all the way down to here. And this is a sterling silver knob from an umbrella, a Victorian umbrella. And then I put a nice big old dip nib in here. And the section, I think, is from a senior Schaefer or something. And it's really fun to draw with. But it's sort of more fun to hold this here. It's like an anchor. It's very, very heavy. So its nib, being that it's a dip nib, is very, very boingy. So anyway, this is not the sail drawer. This is a drawer this is a really tiny dip pen nib that I shoved in this thing. This is some European button filler with a really sort of nice, as Wasky would call it, finish to it. Sort of pearlescent gray with a little bit of stripes in it. And it had a really tiny steel nib in it, I think, which of course is useless. So I put a really prickly, boingy, can I zoom in on this? I can't. You don't have pants on, do you? I thought you were going to come on live and do that. Okay, let's see what you... Very nice. Here is the pen that this pen should have, but it's in that thing. So I have a question for you, mister. What do you prefer? Do you prefer the metal section on your Eversharp, or do you prefer the hard rubber? There is no right answer, but I'm just curious. Look, here's another one that needs one. All of these so far are metal innards. Huh. Okay. One of these has to be a This is P-nub. No, this is not P-nub. I have one that says P-nub. Is that this one? No, this is... You know, I have too many pens. Yeah, I think I'm with you. There's something about the... I don't know. I mean, I can't, what's this doing in there? I can't put it into words, but I think, agree with you that the gold and the hard rubber is a nice way to end it. What I do not like, Sam I Am. I do not like them here or there. I don't like them anywhere. I do not like the modeled hard rubber wood grain section in these things. It looks completely like it's a mismatch. And you only see them on, I think, on one model, that wedding bell one, or that console, or whatever they called that one. Rune, are you still in the room? You know what I mean, right? I think it was called the console. It's that, it's like the ugliest pattern ever. These things are meant to be masculine, you know, and that one is just, it's like a French whorehouse pattern. It's just, it's way too suburban Italianate for me. You know, Italianate is perfectly fine, but you know, the crushed red velvet window shades with the gold fringe and flocked wallpaper look. You know, I'm starting to get car sick thinking about it. Look at this lovely thing. This is a 512 with a rather elaborate engraving of initials up here and an equally not quite so elaborate banner with the 1907 engraved in it. So I presume it's a fancy bar mitzvah gift or something. And I put a nice dip nib in this one. I have a couple of these. Well, I have 3 of them. These are Webster pens, or Webster Majestic pens. One is Ambassador. Okay, I was wrong. They're all 3 different, but clearly I think they're made by the same people. One is called Congress, one is called Majestic, and one is called Ambassador. And they're all the same filling, the bulb filler thing. And I've placed in them dip pen nibs. And why I did that, I'm not exactly sure, but I did. Just because, you know, they don't really have any value as Majestics or Congresses or Ambassadors by themselves. I guess I chose these because they had steel nibs, which are fatter than the gold. So by yanking, I mean, fatter than the steel. So I was able to yank out the steel nib and there'd be a lot of wiggle room for the slightly flatter excuse me, slightly flatter tip pen nib. Okay, this is an Edward Todd, I think, and eyedrop filler, which of course is not opening because I probably didn't clean it out, so it needs to be soaked. Beautiful little pen, Sheraton vertical stripes. Yeah, I think that they were all National Pen products. These Swan pens that had all of the elaborate gold bands, whenever I see these pens, I think of Navy uniforms. You know, this is a commander. Sometimes you see lieutenants, and you often see lieutenants, but occasionally you see a commander. You don't see captains very much, but you jump from commander to commodore, rather, is what I was thinking. Commodore. Commodore? Yes, commodore. The big band is a commodore. And then, but they always remind me of, and sometimes you see dual folds, and not dual fold, vacuumatics that are lieutenant junior grades with two wide bands and a little one. Not lieutenant commander. God, I can't, why can't I think? Yeah, I like them. You know, that pen I just showed you is a little tiny bit thin. It's thinner than the wall. Where do I have a wall number 2? That's a number 2 or number 3. And the micron difference in width between a 2 and a 3 and a 4 are, they're only as different as the thickness of the metal, because the barrel of a cap of a 2 is the same width of a barrel of a 3, I think. And this is, I think, a little thinner than a, what happened to my Waterman Gold? Damn it. God, fuck. Thank goodness I put the cap on that barrel, that ink bottle. Okay, where is my, I just had it here. Hiding. Look, it's quite thinner than a 12. And here's a 12 cap. I mean, it fits on it, but not in the same way. I guess a little thinner. You think? Seems to me that I might differ with you, and what I need to do is, I don't have that many 5s, but I'll see if I can come up with a bunch, and we'll do the nibs, the cap switcheroo, because I think some things, there's a slight difference. But again, you know, you're an expert. Okay, where's the cap to this one? When I put them back, so this one does not fit that or that. So this is smaller. These may be the same. They do seem to screw on each other. Those are the same. It's this. This is one that fits this. Small. Again, you probably know this. You're saying, Pierre, you are wasting your time. You listen to me, I'm correct. Why am I putting them back on the, okay, so these all are the same. Of course, a lot of these have my dip nibs in them, so it's not going to help with determining what size they're supposed to be. This is another small. So you're probably right. 3, 2, and 3 are the same 4. Then you know the factoids. Does this belong here? Let's just find out. Yeah, I think these are different. Yeah, no. Sometimes, I think I find this on Schaefer's, sometimes the caps have enough similarity between them where caps can sometimes be interchangeable. No, one cap will fit on 2 pens, but the other cap only fits on 1. So this one is completely stripped, smooth. But again, these are pens that oh, this is my yellow. This is that yellow, that Waterman yellow nib that came in this pen. You are more of an expert than you know. This is sweet. This pen, and someone, the Encore, the Escort, the something, this slip cap wall. It's just really interesting. I've got 3 of these, and I really only want one. The one that I want has a pencil to match. Maybe I've got 2 sets. But the one that I'm keeping has, I put a Schaefer number 3 nib in because it's exactly the nib that, it should say Eversharp on it, of course, but it's exactly the nib that pen should have. It's just excruciatingly fine. And it's just perfect. It's just, there was a term that a friend of mine, a pen collector friend of mine, used for describing this sort of fine line, and I will send it to you in a text because it's very off color, but it's a Ventura era. But the thing I like about this pen, I mean, all of it is, in a way, all of it is just perfect. The everything looks good about it. There's no threads. It's a slip cap. This is a sort of shaped dip pen like shape to the section. But the only thing about this that's weird is it doesn't have an inner cap to speak of. It may have something in there, but because it's not threaded, you just shove it down and it stops at the right point, I guess. But the shape of the back of the pen isn't the same, so you could shove it down too far, I guess. So they just made a little tiny step in the lever. The lever is slightly thinner in the back. You see that little bump right there? That puts the brakes on the cap. And it's really sort of elegant the way it does that. I don't know what RCH means, but you can text it to me if you can't say it out loud. But this nib is exactly the nib that belongs on this pen for my money. This nib is an Eversharp nib. It's perfectly fine. I'm sure somewhere down the line I'll find a Skyline nib that will. Frederick, that was disgusting. And is it in fact? I always think of red hair as being sort of bristly. I mean, there's nothing wrong with this nib in this pen. There's, this would be perfect. Yeah, I can sell one of them. One of them I have. Let me just see what I've got. I think one needs to have the little ring connect the lever to it. And that's the one I'd sell you because you know how to do the work. But let me find out first whether it has a pencil to match. I might have 3 pencils, 3 sets, but I can't remember. A friend of mine, I'm going to send you something. A friend of mine, I'll just text it all because this friend was intimate, shall we say, with someone with red hair. And his comment was, I will send to you privately. Um, okay, I'm going to start working on the pile for you, Frederick. I know you've got the 2 lifetime golf pencils and you have that Waterman that you liked. And now it's this, I think this is called an Escort or an Encore or something. Someone discovered it, the name for me. So I will do my best to find it for you. You ever buy Founto inks? Imagine you must. I have many Founto inks that some of them have gold nibs that are really pretty nice. Oh, I'm going to show you something. I don't know if I've shown you this. The company that I bought that had all of the parts, when they sold it to me, they gave me their database of all of the people that bought pens from them over the years and parts and stuff. and they had this one on the top of the rubber banded together, and this one was on the top, and it was my file. So it had and they spelled GVST because I would make my U's into V's. So um, they thought my name was GVSTAF. So 9913 Delbridge Road. So this is when I didn't live at home. I was in college at the time, grad school at the time, but this was my permanent address, I guess. Then I went to A Street, 5th floor, when I bought the company from them. Leather pen case, that was the first thing I bought from them. And then I bought a bunch of sacks. And I wanted wants a Waterman number 6 nib, flexible, fine point. Yeah, right. Wants a 56 old orange and black. Paid about $12. I don't know. Mother, Pauline, my mother requested a brochure for me. 6 dozen bladders. See, and they knew that all I was buying from them were pen sacks. I don't think I ever bought a pen from them. So they knew that I knew how to fix them. So when they wanted to sell their stuff, their shop, they sent a email or a snail mail. Email didn't exist then, to me and to Mike Foltz, who also bought parts from them. And I responded, called them up immediately on the phone, and said yes. And Mike Foltz called him up not quite as immediately and said, damn. And I ended up with the parts. And then Mike, a week later, after I got the parts, or maybe a couple weeks later, he came by. The van load, it filled a van, and I tied a big filing cabinet to the roof of the van. The van load cost, I think, $7,500. I gave him a check for $5,000. The rest of it I had to owe him over the course of the year. And I gave them a check and I said, you can't cash this till Monday. And they said, that's fine. So I went off with all their pens and a bad check. And anyway, Mike Foltz came out a couple weeks later and he bought parts from me. I don't think he bought a single pen, but he went through the parts and he said, and I had hardly even seen the parts. And he said, how much is this? He had a very high falsetto voice, and it was a red dual-fold barrel. This is 35 years ago. He held a red dual-fold barrel. And he said, I'll give you $100 for this. And I said, what? I didn't say what. I said, sure. And he said, you know why I'm giving you that much money? He said, it's a dual-fold special, meaning it's the length of a senior and the diameter of a junior. And these are very rare. Okay, now you know what's rarer than that? Rarer than even that barrel is a pen collector willing to give me top dollar for something I don't know anything about. Even I don't do that. Anyway, he was always good for me. He left. He gave me $2,500 for a shoebox, just a shoebox full of stuff. And yes, he got some very rare parts, but nothing. There wasn't anything with gold and diamonds and stuff. It was. Pen collectors are weird. There was one pen collector in Minneapolis who was a pen collector for a very long time, a very serious pen collector, meaning he had a good pen collection and he knew what he was doing, But he called me on the phone. He said, "Pierre, I know that you are interested in pens, and at this antique shop," he gave me the address in the town where the antique shop was. They have a gold cap, a gold snake pen cap for an AA Waterman for $12. And it's at this pen shop. Well, I couldn't get in the car fast enough. I went to it. I found the thing. I paid $12 for it. And I called the guy, "Thank you very much for telling me. Why didn't you buy it for $12? Well, I didn't have the barrel for it. But for God's sake, it's so clear that someone does probably have a barrel for it. And I sold that to Mike Foltz for, I don't know, a couple $100. And he said, with his falsetto voice, he said, "Well, it came this way. They sold them complete, or with the cap as a snake or the barrel as a snake. They sold them 3 ways." So I said, "Okay." Who knew? Well, Mike Foltz did. Mike continued to be very kind to me. When I would go see him, he ran the Chicago Pen Show at the time, and I would always have a bag or a box of stuff that I thought he would like. I had a sterling silver Dun pen, smooth sterling, with a big red Dun knob at the back, and it was a lady's pen, but it's still rare. And he wanted that, and I sold him. I traded him. This is one of the things. I traded him a Waterman. It was one of those hemispheres of hard rubber desk pen and pencil thing on a slab of hard rubber. So it was quite a fancy thing. And I traded this. I traded something that Brad Torelli wanted. Brad Torelli had this. I owned it. Foltz wanted it, not for himself. Foltz did not like any pen that had a lever, and this one had a lever right there because it was a Waterman. He didn't collect any Waterman with a lever. He loved Parkers. He didn't like any Schaeffers. I don't think he liked the more modern piston fill and stuff, but he had this lever phobia or something. So anyway, Foltz said he wanted this because he wanted to trade this for something he wanted, whatever this was, whatever that question mark was. So he gave me a suitcase, an rather large overnight bag, Lufthansa, full of Skyline pens. Now, hundreds of Skyline pens at the time were probably worth $50. No, they weren't sought after back then. They're not sought after now, but they are great pens for my needs to supply pens to users. And he hated them, and he didn't collect them. These are just things that when he would buy at an estate sale, he'd dump everything that had a lever in it in his junk box, regardless of stuff that he wanted to get rid of or sell. So he would always have pens that he knew I would like. He had a fistful of hard rubber Watermans that he had for me when I went to the Chicago Pen Show. Or maybe it was a baggie full. It was like this many. And they were 52s, 52 and a half, 54s, 56s, no 58s, but they were, 55s, 4s, 2s. And I, took them out and I added them up, how much I was willing to pay, $10 for this one. I said to myself, 20 for that, 30, 20, 25, 30. I came up with a number, and it was like $350. I don't know how many dollars or how many pens it was. It was some number. And he said, "No, $200. It was like half of what I was willing to pay. He took half. So he was a nice guy to me, but I could see that if he and I wanted the same things, that he would fight for it. The only time that we were fighting for one thing was at an auction at the Boston Pen Show. There was a Waterman 20, no, a Waterman 19, size of a 20, number 9 nib, Waterman number 9 nib, without a breather hole and without iridium. But how many 19s have you seen in your life? 0, right? Anyway, he and I were bidding for this pen. And it went to like, I think $1,100, and he stopped bidding. And I was, getting to my limit. And I said, well, Mike, why did you stop bidding on that? Because normally he would be very happy to be the high bidder. How do I say this correctly? It's my affection for you, Pierre. So he just wanted to do me a good turn. But yes, I have seen him very competitive. Normally, he said about winning a bid, he would say when he would get something, he said, I don't mind paying 10% more than the next guy for something I want, because it's only 10% more, or 5%, or $10 more, or whatever it was. And he felt that wasn't a horrible risk. He wasn't, and he might be able to then trade that penny to the bidder. Like Fultz could have shown me a suitcase full of Skylines, and I would have gladly handed this thing over to him. So people bid interestingly. I think I've told you the story about Dick Johnson bidding on a pen. I don't want to repeat myself, but it's a cute story if you're willing to hear it. I've got 3% power, so I have to stop this quickly. You know the story? Well, maybe someone else doesn't know the story, so we'll say it again. So there was an auction at the Philadelphia Pen Show, and I'm sitting next to Rob Morris and Jonathan Steinberg. Oh, okay, never mind. I got 3 more just like it, and they're all worth. He also had kind of a high falsetto voice. Okay, goodbye, everyone. This was fun. I'll work on your pile. I don't know who else is in the room, but I got to go. See ya.